So, I had a great mentor. His name is Charlie Tremendous Jones. And he had a quote. He says that you are the same today as will be in 5 years, except for two things: the people we meet and the books we read. It's who we hang out with, it's what we put in our head that determines our character as a person. In high school, if you hung around smokers, you're a smoker. If you hung around jocks, you're a jock. Same thing applies today. If we hang around people that complain, bright, moan, that becomes a conversation that plays in our head. But if we hang around people that are positive and solution searching, then that too will be the conversation. So through the little time we're going to have together tonight, I'm going to share some amazing books you might want to have in your own success library, but also some amazing people that are in your life. And Nicholas happens to be in the room today, so I'm going to give him a little bit of the floor. Nick Lowry is an NFL legend. When he retired, he was the number one, get this, player in the history of the world. This gentleman knows pressure. He was a kicker for the legendary Chiefs. Put your hands together for Nick Lowry. while we got you for a few minutes, and I know you're taking off here, give us a visualization story. When you're under that pressure, right? You're walking on, and you have a book coming out. It's called like Naked or Afraid in front of 80,000 people. Tell us about it.
Well, first of all, that ideal thing is whoever wrote that it's not likely to happen. It didn't happen for them. Right? I mean, I think that is possible, but it obviously is not an easy thing. So I'm just going to speak for a couple minutes. Thank you. Awesome. First of all, very impressive group of people. And especially this when you meet people that say something and follow through, it's so gratifying, isn't it? When they always do it. This guy is visualization. Here's a little tip. I became more
Right, you're walking on, and you have a book coming out. Like
18 or 11 times. And somehow I just kept going. First of all, an ideal thing is, then I qualified as a soccer kicker in NFL history with my 100th field goal. I was about 76%. I'm not going to be going like this all night, I promise you. Something happened, and I figured out how to handle pressure better. So I want to share this with you. Because one of the counterintuitive things is, how many of you get nervous when you have to speak? Right? Especially when it's something that really matters to you. So one of the great simple things is, when you're nervous, don't say, I don't want to be nervous. Say, I want to be nervous. I've worked hard for this nervousness. It's amazing how, when you don't have that internal conflict, how much better it is than saying, I don't want to be nervous, when your intuitive subconscious is going, what the fuck? Excuse my language. It's the scariest thing in the world, which did happen to me when I was running on the field sometimes. But I got better at it. So here's a simple thing. Imagine this for what is the analogy for you in aligning your lives, okay? Because the kicker has to focus on the moment, on the ball, but also always on the goalposts. When you're nervous, the goalposts look like tweezers. When you've prepared, you widen them. So this is what I figured out. Don't try to be too perfect. God's given us a brain that can function at 1,000 times the speed of our conscious brain. So when we're nervous, we become what? More self-conscious. So imagine, and I want you to really think about what this means to you, so you'll take it with you, and it'll embed, and you'll go, I want to apply that in the way that Mike and Blake were talking about, in a way that really lasts. So I'm stepping towards the ball snapped back, caught, put down, spun, and kicked. And by the way, laces out. Bullshit. Yeah, you can still make it. Those guys so, laces shouldn't matter. So, you have 11 people paid an average of $4.3 million, 22 feet away from you, trying to block your kick. If you focus on that, you're in trouble, right? So what I found is I would simply say two things. And this is, for all of you, what is the unique thing that would trigger you to release that and not be too perfect? You will get closer to perfection by saying, I don't have to be perfect. Because you train. So, I would say it was a right foot kicker, left foot. Left foot meant to be align my left foot right at the target. Align yourself so clearly at the target that nothing else will get in the way. Aligning your values, your emotions, your focus. And then the second word for me was explode. I went from 76% to 77% to 87% in the 90s when the fields were a lot less beautiful than they are now. And explode meant for me, don't be perfect. Just attack the ball. Attack life. Be bold. There's a great French phrase, toujours audace, audace. Just fortune favors the bold. Some of you read that. And that was amazing because the brain then is triggered in all of those subconscious, repetitive things, the habits. We're talking about habits here tonight, right? The habits that God gave us that align with what we're supposed to do, our great gifts. So can you remember that? Find that word, that trigger. It might be explode. It might be something totally different. But in those moments of truth, we're often defined. We remember, gosh, I see that great like, girl that I was nervous, or I wanted to be perfect when I had to say X, Y, and Z, I had to present. Instead, you put yourself in that place where it's left foot. Align yourself. Why am I here? Tony Robbins, who I love to do, I'm almost done here. He asked me before our AFC Championship game, how you doing? I said, I'm nervous. He said, who are you playing for? So who are you guys playing for? Really? Who are you playing for? That helped me so much. Because I work with kids with cerebral palsy, I work with inner city kids, And suddenly I'm running out.
Published in 150 books, 45 languages, 2 honorary PhDs, and a star on the Walk of Fame, yet I have read less books than I've written in my life. And the way that I did it was this. You work your strengths and you hire your weaknesses. You rework our strengths and hire our weaknesses. What does that mean? Well, I'm stuck at writing, but you know what? I'm a good orator. I'm a good storyteller. I'm a good visionary. So I sit down with amazing ghostwriters and editors, and I would sit there and say, all right, a boy wants a bicycle. So he gets off his bike. He goes out, takes a lawnmower, mows the neighbor's yards, makes money, buys a bike. And I tell that to my ghostwriter, and they give it back to me the next week. You know how it reads? It was a glorious Sunday afternoon when a young, bright-eyed lad caught the entrepreneurial spirit as he went outside to greet the new day, and they write it in a story form that people would want to read. You work your strengths and you hire your weaknesses. So when I did my first book, you do something called a query letter. It says who you are, what's your message, why an expert, who's going to read your book. I sent 8 query letters out every single week to 8 return rejections the next week. I was turned down 268 times in a row on my first book. The 269th person says, we'll do your title. All we want you to do is change the title, the beginning, the middle, and the end. It was horrible. It sucked so bad. Again, I'm dyslexic, so it read like dog, beaver, boat, car. It made no sense. So they said, get a ghostwriter. And I did, and I recrafted it. And this book went on to inspire so many lives around the globe. In fact, one quote from this book that you've heard over and over, you just don't know it's mine, was shared 37 million times last year. It says, a dream written down with a date becomes a goal. A goal broken down into steps becomes a plan. A plan backed by action makes your dreams come true. You see it on coffee mugs, t-shirts, bumper stickers, a quote that was turned down 268 times in a row. What if I would have given up after 100 rejections, or 150, or 212? Well, guess what? 37 million people would not have had that quote inspire their lives. The moral is, never let another person or yourself talk you out of what you know to be true. What does that mean? I didn't hope or wish or believe I'd write a book. I knew I'd do it, I just didn't know how. So I didn't have personal attachment to it. I just wanted to keep going down the road until someone believed in me. Would anyone like a free copy of this book? Now, after this book became a great success, Charlie Tremendous Jones, my mentor, and I did this one. It's called Positive Impact. Would anyone like a copy of this? It was really interesting. How many times has somebody left a positive impact in their life? What they did is they gave us one word of encouragement when other people would rain on our parade. Yet that was a little catalyst that maybe got us to where we are today. And I wanted to tell a story about that. This little book is one of my latest bestsellers. It's called Station 42. You can come up and get it, but I'm not going to run all the way back down there.
Great.
Yeah, all right, there you go, done. And then this one right here is called Tapping the Source. I want somebody that needs the time. Your hand went up, so you're getting it. This is one of my favorite books, and I'll tell you why. Have you ever met someone not as smart as you, but they have more success than you? Drives you nuts, right? Have you ever met someone who's not as good looking, they have a better looking spouse, and how the hell do you do that? Well, what they do is they do something called tapping the source, and it works like this. Do we agree in the airwaves right now there's country music, rap music, and country? Do we agree? And if we took a radio receiver and dialed it into an exact frequency, could we pull it down from either? But if we wanted 100.7 FM, 100.1 will not work. It has to be exact. It's just like Google. So if you ask Google, hey, show me men's shoes, it's going to give you a billion selections. But if I said, Google, show me men's shoes, size 10, color white, within 100 feet of my vicinity, it's going to give me an exact answer. Here's what happens. You dial in the frequency, just like on the radio receiver, by the questions in which we throw out to the universe. And it works like this. Most people say something negative. God, why does this shit always happen to me? This is why, you dumbass. And gives you more of that. When will this go to hell in a handbag? That's Tuesday at 4, right? Those are the questions we ask. But successful people, here's what we ask. How can it get even better than this? What is the solution and the problem that I'm facing that I'm not seeing right now? Who's on my phone that I could open up the speed dial and have a solution to something I'm facing right now. I do something every single day. It's called contact roulette. Everyone's got a cell phone. I open it up to contact, I go, and I stop, and I send someone a quick little text. And it's always the same, sending you a drive-by hi from Carlsbad, California. That's it. But I do it every single day, 3 of these people. Could you imagine how much business, relationships, dinners, just camaraderie that I've got from doing that? Because most people aren't reaching out. So the first line of suggestion I can give you of tapping the source is to do just that. And when Michael Jackson wrote the movie, the music called Thriller, you guys remember that? I can't do it, right? But you know Thriller, right? Well, he did Thriller. They said, why did you stay up 3 days straight and wrote every lyric, every line, every musical note for that? And his answer was this: I didn't want Prince to get there first. Because he understood the power of tapping the source. This little book here is called The Power of Proximity. You've heard it a million times that we're a reflection of the people we hang around the most, and our income, attitude, and lifestyle is the average of the group. If you hang around winners, you become one too. But the big question is, how do you find new winners? This is the exact answer. Surrounding ourselves in circumstances of people that are always playing up. Now, in your head right now, you're probably thinking, why is it that I give away so many books when I speak? And the truth is, they didn't sell so good. Okay, so now, I know the boys talked about Secret Knock, and we'll talk about it a little bit in a little, but I got a great success story. So years ago, a guy right here from Arizona named Frank Shanklitz came, and he founded a nonprofit. It's called Make-A-Wish Foundation. You might have heard of it. Grants wishes to terminal kids. Well, in fact, we were sitting there on stage at Secret Knock, and I said, Frank, I go, just when we're done wrapping up our interview, let me ask you, I go, what was your wish? And he looked at me like I had 2 heads. He goes, what do you mean? I go, you're the founder of Make-A-Wish. What'd you wish for? And he says, no one asked me. I says, I go, well, what do you want? You tell me any single thing you can think of, and I'll grant your wish. I want to be the guy that grants wish of the founder of Make-A-Wish. And he says, I just want my story to be told so my grandkids will know I did something. So real quick, I got a piece of paper out that said, grant me your life rights, right backstage. And I said, Frank, I'll make this into a major feature film. Just know I've never made a film, right? But he trusted me. They took 6 years of trials and tribulation. And we filmed it right up here in Prescott, Arizona. And when it came out, we were on the short list for the Oscars, and it's still trending worldwide today called Witch Man. And the moral is that everyone can be a hero. You don't need to be a billionaire celebrity to go give a pair of socks to a homeless guy. You don't have to be some type of Instagram influencer to stop a bully from fighting. Everyone can do something that has a ripple effect to impact the lives of others. Would anyone like a free copy of this movie? Now, this little one is kind of personal. It's my son's CD. He's 12 years old. When he was a kid, at 7, he did this CD. It was the #1 album on Amazon.com, believe it or not. He beat out Kanye West for the #1 spoken word album. And what's really cool about this thing is that when he was 7, he would do a mantra before he goes to sleep. And he would say, my name's Colt, I'm happy, I'm powerful, I'm brave, I'm worthy, I'm wise, I help people. And I had a buddy of mine put hip-hop music to it, and it went on to become a phenomenon. He's got his own Instagram. But here's what's really cool about that story, is that I realized from my son of learning these little life lessons, and this is the takeaway that I hope everyone can get from this. I was doing a podcast last year, and the woman asked me a great question. Said, do you give money to your son for allowance to do things he does not like to do around the house? Like mow the lawn, make his bed. I said, absolutely. I go, I want to teach my son the power and respect of his money and earnings. She goes, stop. That's a shame. You're ruining your child forever. I'm a student. I said, teach me. And she goes, think about it. From the earliest of memory, you're training your child the only way to make money is to do something they don't like. I sat him down. I said, Colt, I go, from now on, I'll tell you what, you make those really cool Instagram videos and TikToks, and I go, I got a couple million followers, why don't you become my, influencer guy? And I said, from now on, in fact, I'll pay you all your allowance to do something that you excel, that you thrive at, and how about you make the bed for living in this mansion, right? And we change our entire dynamic, our paradigm. So now when he comes up to me and says, hey, the new Jordans are out, how many TikToks do you need? And now all of a sudden he's starting to do what he excels at. And by doing that, the kid is just rocking and rolling. So much so that it's going back to his school and teaching other kids in his own little community to do the same.
Where could we be if we stopped changing our attitude from what's the hard thing? We got to grind and strive and do all this stuff to how do we work smart and less hard. This right here is an action guide called Pass It On. If I could recommend one little thing, I'm going to give you this one right here. The whole idea about the law of attraction works like this. We got to think it, we got to feel it, but ultimately we got to get off our ass and take action. We got to do something. Do we agree? Yes. Nothing comes to us overnight. We're not going to wake up and have a bicycle at our door. What we do is we have to take action to it. How many times have we had $1 million idea in the shower, and by the time we brush our teeth, it's down the drain, to see it on a billboard 10 years later and go, holy shit, there's my idea. The only difference between you and that person is one person did what? They did something. And the way that we do this, and the way we have success, even through our setbacks, is going from failure to failure, loss by loss, without the loss of enthusiasm. That is the key. It's that PMA, positive mental attitude. I got a question. Has anyone here ever heard of this book called Think and Grow Rich? All right. You've heard what? You've heard of the book, or you want the book? Okay, but you've never heard of this book. Oh, you're going to love this. So in 1908, there was a young, aspiring magazine reporter. He was 23 years old. He was a guy named Napoleon Hill. You all have heard his name before. He gained access to the richest dude in the world, Andrew Carnegie, and was supposed to be a 30-minute interview. Turned out to be 3 full days and 3 full nights. At the end of the interview, Carnegie says, I like you, and here's an opportunity. He said, work for me for free for 20 years, and I'll send you on a mission to meet all my friends. You'll pick their brain and write the first ever formula for success. Napoleon Hill reached in his pocket and said, work for free for what? He didn't even have 2 nickels to rub together. And he went to his post and says, Mr. Carnegie, not only will I accept that mission, but rest assured, I promise I'll complete the task. Carnegie says, fine, you got yourself a job. And Hill says, why are they going to talk to me? I'm just a kid, I'm nobody, I'm not connected. He says, don't worry about it, I'll write you a letter of recommendation. When they see it, they know I sent you, give you all the time you want. Sat down with Edison, Einstein, the Fords, and Rockefellers, and wrote the 20th best-selling book in the history of the world, selling 100 million copies, called Think and Grow Rich. But here's what you don't know. Carnegie was a stickler for action and gave his guests 60 seconds to make up his mind to work for free for 20 years. And when Napoleon Hill said yes, Carnegie pulled out a stopwatch he began in his pocket. There was 31 seconds left. He made a major life-changing decision in 29 seconds. But here's the best part of the story. Carnegie made that same offer to over 250 men before. He was the only person to say yes. Everyone else had a bad case of the one size. That means I'll take action. One side, get the kids out of the house. One side, get the big break. And again, it's the people that take action in the law of attraction. You know what the single biggest thing that holds people's success back is the big butt. Not the one you're sitting on, but the people sit there and say, I'd go do that too. That is the killer of all dreams right there. And we realize that in 1908, when Napoleon Hill was gifted this opportunity, he did something and he acted upon it. And he went and met these amazing people. Fast forward 100 years exactly to the date, the Napoleon Hill family that survived, the great-grandkids, and the foundation that bears his name, wrote the same type letter that Carnegie got and gave to Hill, and they gave it to me. And basically, I got a Willy Wonka ticket to meet any human alive. And so my full-time job, being a dyslexic guy who can't spell, is I travel the world to meet the most powerful and influential people and tell their stories in books and film. The first book they asked me to do was this one. It's called 3 Feet from Gold. 3 Feet from Gold. Now, I'm going to tell you a little story, 3 Feet from Gold. It's a story about a guy named R.U. Darby. He gets gold fever, and he goes out west. And he starts digging in a little thing. I'll see if I can hold it up here. There you go. And he starts digging a couple holes, and he finds some gold. And he got excited. He hid it and buried it because he didn't want anyone to find it. He went back home and he told his family and friends, he said, you're not going to believe what I found. They chipped in money by 10 grand to buy equipment to pull it out by the work cart. The first cart came out of the ground. Sure enough, it's filled with gold. Woo-hoo, he's rich, right? They kept digging, but then the gold ran out. They kept digging. There was no more gold. Defeated, this Darby guy walks out of the mine and says, I quit, and sees a junk man walking by. Says, hey, buddy. He says, give me $200. I'll sell you the mine, the deed, the equipment. I'm done with this gold mining business. I'm going to go back home to something I know. Well, the junk man surveying the equipment was worth 10 grand, said, here's 200 bucks real quick to buy the deed and all the equipment because he realized the gold mine that he just discovered. Darby goes home defeated, a quitter. Well, the junk man goes to an engineer and says, what happened? This guy had gold and ran out. And the engineer laughed. He says, that's mining 101. Everyone knows that gold runs in a straight line. It's called a gold vein. What Darby did is he came in one side, hit gold, and popped back into dirt. He says, go back to where they discovered treasure, go 90 degrees, just 3 feet the opposite way, and you'll tap back into the vein. Not only did the junk man pull millions upon millions of dollars out, but that's what fills Fort Knox today. And the moral is, how many times have we, or someone we know, quit one class short from a degree, or sales, or marketing, or marriage? It's easy to quit. But it's the people that persevere and go that extra 3 feet, they're the ones that we tell the stories about. Ask Nick Lowry. How much does 3 feet matter in a game of football? That's the difference between winning a Super Bowl or talking about I almost did. The fact of the matter is, right now, we have something, like Les Brown says, greatness inside of us. But sometimes we're afraid to share it with the world. When Napoleon Hill wrote Think and Grow Rich, the biggest chapter, people don't know this, was called The 6 Ghosts of Fear. He focused on fear. And the fears he talked about were back in the old days. Remember, it was 100 years ago. He said the biggest fears were the fear of the loss of love of someone, the fear of old age, the fear of death. Well, I believe the modern fears of today are this. It's the fear of the unknown. We can handle yes, we can handle no. It's that maybe that drives us nuts. Remember COVID? We can handle yes, we can handle no. It's that maybe. Number 2 is the fear of pain. We will do anything to avoid pain. If you don't believe me, read the side effects or those drugs they put out in the commercials with anal leakage. You'll do anything to stop pain, right? But the number 1 fear of modern time is this. It's the fear of criticism and judgment. How horrible is that? It's the fear of judgment. We are so worried about what people think. And if you don't believe me, imagine you're walking down the street in Nebraska. I've never been in Nebraska. I trip on the curb. The first thing I'm going to do is look up to see who saw me. I don't even know any of these people. But that's what we do. There's a bumper sticker that says, what would you do if you couldn't fail? What if we threw that away and replaced it to, what would you do the moment you stopped giving a shit what people thought? Would you start that business? Would you ask that person out for a date? What would you do? And here's the big news flash. No one is thinking about you. They're dealing with their own life's demons. The best time to take action is the exact moment it strikes you. Because again, it is the action in the law of attraction. And when I was doing this book, one of the favorite people I interviewed, it was really phenomenal. I sat down, I don't know if you guys ever watched The Big Bang Theory, where Sheldon was trying to figure out string theory. Well, I got to sit down with John Schwartz, who invented string theory. And I said, what do successful people do different than others? Here's his answer. He said, successful people seek counsel and failures listen to opinion. I'm going to say again, successful people seek counsel and failures listen to opinion. What's the difference? Opinion is based on ignorance, lack of knowledge, or inexperience, like all your family friends that have never done what you want to do. Counsel is based on wisdom, knowledge, and mentorship. People have paved the way. If I go to a family barbecue and say, hey, Uncle Leo, I'm going to become an international best-selling author, he's going to try to talk me out of that to protect me, to keep me safe, knowing I'm dyslexic. And guess what? He's never written a best-selling book. And if I go to Mark Victor Hansen, who wrote Chicken Soup for the Soul and sold 1 billion copies, he's going to say, great, sit down, here's what you need to know, and give me counsel based on wisdom, knowledge, and mentorship. If we would spend our activities only seeking counsel and ignoring people's opinion, that's the day your life would change. But unfortunately, many times we'll open up an Instagram meme and see some kid leaning in front of a Lamborghini and not understand that he's just leaning against a Lamborghini. Go talk to Mr. Lamborghini. Let me tell you a story about Mr. Lamborghini. Tonino Lamborghini, he got the business from his dad when he was 26 years old. When he started it, the first car he did was called a Countach. And when he ended, it was with the Diablo. And then they sold it to Volkswagen, you know the story. And I asked him, I said, how is it that you and your dad, you hear all these little internet memes about no commercials and all this stuff. I go, how is it that you and your dad created so much wealth and prosperity in your life? And here's his answer. You guys ready for this one? He says, all you got to do It's create a product, good, service, or experience that people will save their money to happily hand it to you. So what do you mean? Says Greg, I love you. No one's going to save all their money to buy your book, but they're going to cash in their 401k to drive my car. He says, you're not going to spend $4,000 a night to live in your own apartment, but you're going to go up to Anaheim and give it to a mouse with big ears. He says, if you can create a product, good, service, or experience that people save their money to hand to you, you'll never run out of cash. And along this quest, I got to meet these amazing people. Who here would have gone with me to meet all these people? No, you wouldn't. I invited 360 people. No one ever showed. No one ever showed. No one came with me on any of these journeys. Isn't that crazy? Nobody ever showed up.
I show up.
I know, it's kind of crazy. Well, there's one gentleman named Bob Proctor. You guys ever heard of this guy? So Bob and I wrote a book called Think and Grow Rich, Thoughts Are Things. You guys know we carried Think and Grow Rich with him everywhere. And he was a mentor of mine, so I wanted to honor him. So before he passed away, I was doing a book called Thoughts Are Things, and I asked him to co-author with me, so his name officially would go on the Think and Grow Rich title, which he did. And we sold millions of copies worldwide. But here's what we discovered. We thought for sure we had the answer before we started. Thoughts are things. You think it magically appears. Bullshit. If thoughts were things, I'd be a slice of pizza right now. I'm hungry. But when we're done, and I ask the Uber driver to drive me by that pizza place, my thoughts become reality by what? The actions in which we take. That's what it comes down to. It's interesting. It's been said scientifically, we have 64,000 thoughts a day. Unfortunately, most of them are called ants, automatic negative thoughts. They're the reptilian part of your brain that protects you to keep you safe, so if you walked out of a cave, a dinosaur wouldn't eat you. Well, if we have 64,000 thoughts a day, and most of them are negative, everything should be pure chaos in your life, but it's not. You know why? It's only the thoughts in which you took action upon become your truth. Thinking about being rich, like in Think and Grow Rich, doesn't make you rich. Acting upon your thoughts towards the necessary actions and outcomes makes you rich. Most people, they come up to me and say, I want a Lamborghini, and I say, no, you don't, because you don't have one. You're not willing to do what's necessary to have the outcome of what you desire. The people that can tell me, they say, I can tell, show me your friends, I'll tell you your life. Bullshit. Show me where you're at, I'll show you exactly what's going in your brain. Because those are the actions that got you to where you want to be. And understand this, the actions that got us to where we want to be can be turned around at any time at 160 or 180 and take us the other direction. The big question is, are we willing to do those necessary actions? Are we willing to do it? Someone came up to me the other day and said, will you be my mentor? And I pulled up a glass, a mirror. I said, here you go. I go, what's that? I go, that's your mirror. I go, I don't know you. I don't know what's in your brain. No matter what I tell you to do means anything. Only you know what you need to do, but more importantly, you know what you're willing to do. It's called The Mirror Mentor. I should write that book, right? By the way, there's a book that was written in a movie years ago. It's my favorite all-time book. If you ever get a chance to go see it, it's called The Ultimate Gift. And it's written by a guy named Jim Stoll. And he and I together did this book last year. I'll kiss it so you think it's a sex book. Would anyone like a copy of this book? All right, there you go. This is a damn good book right here. But along this quest and along this journey of meeting these amazing people, folks always ask me, like, what's one of your favorite interviews? And I'll give it to you because I didn't see it coming. It was from a wordsmith and a poet and a philosopher, the boxing legend Evander Holyfield. You know that guy? And I said, how did you win more heavyweight championships than anyone in history? And here's his answer. He said, I have a higher standard. He said, in sports, I showed up early, I left late, I invented exercises, I had a higher standard, and I won more championships. I said, did it hurt you in a fight? He says, yeah, it hurts, but when you're in a fight, you don't focus on the pain, you don't focus on the blows. As soon as you focus on the pain, you end up on your ass knocked out. But that's what people do outside the ring. They focus on gas prices, war, COVID, economy, and then they wonder why they never become a champion. He pulled me in tight, the Adonis of a man, missing half an ear, bitten off my cancer. He says, you know what the funny thing is? He says, when you do win the championship, he says, everyone comes to their feet and they chant your name. They raise your hand in victory, and the guy puts a big shiny belt around your waist. He says, at that moment, and at that second, you don't even feel one of the punches you took along the journey. But the guy in the losing locker room has every bruise, every excuse for the rest of their life, wishing they had a higher standard. Meeting all these amazing human beings, I'm telling you, there's story after story, but this one was right down the street. Okay, you come on down, I'll give this one to you. So in Napoleon Hill, before he passed away, before he died in 1970, this was his final book he was going to do. It's called Success and Something Greater. He never got a chance to do it, so Sharon Lecter and I got a chance to do it. And we interviewed amazing human beings, from the founder of Barefoot Wives, the Dictionary, Ugg Boots, you name it. But one story resonated. I'm going to share it with you. I got a calling to share it. There's this gentleman named Fred. I'm going to call this guy Fred. When we're at Sharon Lecter's mansion over here in Paradise Valley, we're having a little mastermind group. There's this older gentleman. He looked like he was seasoned. He'd been around the block. Had one of these fancy jackets, leather patches on the elbows. And I went up to him and I said, "Hey, excuse me." I go, "You look like a success guy." I go, "What's your claim to fame?" And he goes, "Well, the greatest thing I ever did is I invented something called a jet ski. It's a sit-down little motorcycle you ride around the water." I go, "Yeah, I know what it is." I go, "Man, you must be proud." He goes, "The greatest thing I ever did." Turned around and started talking to someone. I go, "Hey, Fred." He goes, "Yeah." And I go, "Man, you must be rich." He goes, "Nah, not really." He goes, "I sold the patent for $75,000. And he turned around and talked to someone. Hey, Fred. Turned around and says, "Yeah." And he goes, "That's going to kill you. That's going to eat you alive." He goes, "Why?" I go, "It's 75 grand. It's $1 billion brand. You ever heard of ski-doo?" He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "Every time I'm on the freeway and I see one pull behind a Jeep, I go, there's my idea." He went around and talked to someone else. I said, "Hey, Fred." He turned around and says, "What?" I said, "How can you have that mental attitude when you could have made so much more money?" And he looked at me deadpan and said, "You don't understand." He says, "At that time, in that moment of my life, that $75,000 was like winning the lottery." He says, "I was about to lose our home that's been in our family namesake for generations. I got the mortgage caught up." He goes, "I felt like king of the world." He goes, "My employees weren't paid for a while. I got them caught up with. They got to sleep at night too." He goes, "For the first time, I enjoyed something called peace of mind, and I had free time. I went through the attic and started playing around, and I found these little metal die-cast cars I played with as a child. A buddy of mine's a NASCAR driver, so I put his number on the side and I gifted it to him." He goes, "He loved it so much so that other drivers came in and said, 'Can you do it for me as well?' He says, 'I started doing it for all the drivers until NASCAR came to me directly and says, 'Hey man, can we buy the patent from you directly for the whole idea for $151 million?' And he says, as a business person and as an entrepreneur, sometimes we need to do a deal in order to get us through to do a bigger deal." From there, I got to sit down with a guy named Marty Cooper. Now, Marty Cooper invented something you might have seen before. It's one of these things. It's called a cell phone. You guys ever seen a cell phone? I saw him on 60 Minutes. 3 days later, I'm in his office. And I asked him a question because I was working on a book called Stickability, The Power to Persevere. And it says, "What does stickability mean to you?" And here's his answer. He said, "Stickability has to be parallel with another word called flexibility." He says, "If you're not willing to adapt and adjust, you get stuck." And he told a story about a spider monkey in the rainforest. He said, "A spider monkey so quick and nimble, you can't catch it. You can't harpoon it. It's too wiry." One hunter figured it out. He took a heavy log, drilled a tiny hole, dropped a peanut, and left it at the base of the jungle. The monkey would smell the nut, come down from the treetop, reach his hand in, grab a hold of the nut, and his fist becomes so big he can't pull it out and become anchored to the log. Now all he's got to do is let go, but he holds on with dear life, thinking that nut is nutrition and saving it. The hunter comes by an hour later, captures the elusive spider monkey. The moral is, are you holding on to your own nut right now? But it could be in the form of a job, or a relationship, or fear, or guilt, or the past, or remorse. And when we're holding on with dear life, thinking it's saving us, just like the monkey thought the nut was, it could also be the thing that's leading to your own demise. Sometimes we have to have the courage and the fortitude to simply let go, adapt, and adjust so we can live to fight another day. And after all these different individuals, one of the greatest ahas, people always ask me, "What's your biggest aha, your biggest takeaway? If you could go back to your 20-year-old self and tell you something, this would be it. You, lady, this is it, right there. This is your nugget. Pay attention. CPC. CPC. It's an acronym. I wish I would have learned this when I was 20 years old. CPC. It stands for this. Clues, patterns, choices. CPC. Clues, patterns, choices. It works like this. I'm a single guy. I go out on the first date with an amazing gal. She happens to be 20 minutes late. Now, anything could happen, but there's a little red flag. That's my first C. It's called a clue. But she's awesome. I want to keep dating her. So on the 10th, 15th, 20th date, every time we go out, she happens to be 20 minutes late. That forms a P, which is a pattern. Now it's my C, which is choice. Whether I deal with it, I yell at her, I break up, I tell her a different time, but it's not her fault. She's just late. We have to stop trying to change people to fit into our own paradigm. Newsflash, no one wants to be changed. But how many times have we seen someone with a bad reputation in business? They cheat your best friend, you do business, things go wrong, you're mad at the person. It'd be like seeing a rattlesnake rattle, bite your kid's sister, you pet it, get bit, you're mad at the snake. Looking back in life, rarely will we be angry at relationships that failed or negotiations that fell through. We're mad at ourselves because we saw the clues, we saw the patterns, but we made our choices late. Dave Leonard, you guys don't know him, but you know his business. I sat him down and said, did you ever want to quit? I said, oh man, in 1970, I got into real estate, it was brutal. He says interest rates were 24%, I didn't know what to do, all the investment money ran out. He says for 2 years, every phone call that came in was from the bill collector. When the phone would ring, I'd run across the hall and I'd pick it up so my poor receptionist was just put it in the middle. He goes, the third year, they threw me in jail. They called me a fraud and a liar. I said, what'd you do? He says, well, I took my attitude from trying to prove everyone else wrong to something more important, just prove myself right. He says, I knew I wasn't what they were making me out to be. So I had the courage to pick up the phone, and I called people before they could call me to collect. And I said, I'll be honest with you. There is no more money. I don't have $50,000 I owe you, but I do have $50. And I'll send it to you with a promise today that I won't quit. He says, don't give up on me. I won't give up on my dream. He says, look, I called every bill collector every month until the fourth year, someone finally believed in me and bought the first franchise called Remax Real Estate. He goes, I am nothing. But how many people's lives were changed because I didn't quit? And how do we know someone sitting in this room isn't about to give up on their own dream because Visa called them this morning? I believe truly that you're here for a reason. We are a reflection of the people we surround ourselves with. And how do we continue to up our game? September, I'm doing Secret Knock in Las Vegas for the first time ever. And I'm bringing in some of the most powerhouse hitters I ever have. And then we're going to do it again in March in San Diego next year. Now, we are known as the greatest event you cannot attend unless you're invited. And the only way to be invited is to hang out with these amazing people and open up the doors of opportunity. I don't have a sales pitch. There's no way to go. Billy is right back here, my vice president. He's the only way you can go. So you got to go see Billy if you want to get into this thing. Good luck to you. He's the gatekeeper, and you can wear it. You see, he wore a referee shirt, so. Yeah, that or he just got a second duty shift over at Pirates of the Caribbean. I haven't figured it out yet. That's one of those good things. But again, the big thing is, where could we be by constantly surrounding ourselves with these amazing people, then apply what they teach you and report back? This is how I honor my mentors. When I met the legendaries, the greatest speaker of all time, I believe, Les Brown. He's got a quote, he says, you gotta be hungry, right? And I hunted him down when I first got in the industry and says, Mr. Brown, I go, I'm brand new, would you do me a favor? Just give me one nugget, one little thing I could do to help my speaking career. He did. I found him a month later and said, Mr. Brown, I met you a month ago, I asked for one nugget, you gave it to me, here's my results. What should I do next, sir? He was shocked, jaw, ground. He goes, no, I can't believe anyone did that, right? And he gave me the next nugget 100% because I honored him by following up, following through, and reporting back. Here's what he taught me, by the way. He says, when you're on stage, you can tell a new speaker, because they hold the microphone like this, like a rapper, and they put it in front of their face. They're hiding behind this microphone. They're just scared, just so you know. He says, what you do is you hold it at the end, so people can still hear you, but they connect with you in the audience. And that simple little act got me more paid speaking gigs, I believe, than any other tech. How simple is that? It's these little things by reporting back, because everyone has one golden nugget. Remember this, what's common sense to you is pure genius to somebody else. Now I'm going to give you guys a chance to ask me some questions now, but before I do, I'm going to wrap up with this last thing. Look, I do not know every single person in this room, but I do know there's one thing about you. Chances are everyone comes to you for counsel, for great advice. But you're just like that shiny duck on the water. On top, you're beautiful, but underneath, you're freaking out like the rest of us, right? And we've been taking care of our family and our friends and our peers and our coworkers. You know why? Because you're a leader, and it's awesome. But guess what? It's time to get selfish. It's time to draw an imaginary line in the sand and step across and say, it's my turn! You know what? I got that idea for a book or a movie. An entrepreneurial dream. I'm not going to take it to my grave. I love you, family. I love you, friends. I've taken good care of you. I've taught you everything I got. You take care of you. We draw that line in the sand. And we step across and say, it is my turn. I'm not going to let another person tell me what I can and cannot do. I am not going to let fear stop me in the way of my greatness. Like Napoleon Hill said, our greatest success will always come just one step beyond our greatest setback and failure. So when you want to say die and throw in the towel, that's when you kick it in the most. We draw that line in the sand and we step across and we say, it is my turn. You do have greatness inside of you. We've been so afraid to share it because we are afraid of what other people will think. And I'm telling you right now, your time is now. Draw that line. Step across and say, it is my time. And when you're going to say die, I cannot go just one step further. Understand this. You've got greatness inside of you. Never give up and never surrender, because you too could be just 3 feet from gold.
You got the 3 feet from gold. Uh-oh.
There you go, the good one right there, baby. All right, so this is the chance. Would anyone like to ask me any questions? Yes.
All right, I put on 5 of these events, like dinners for men, to help them get around other men doing like this. What's one nugget that you can give to me that I can follow up with you on?
First of all, that's very admirable. So one of the Bibles of my life right now is Dr. Robert Glover's, I don't know if you ever saw him or Mr. Nice Guy. But back in the day, our great-grandfathers, they grew up on farms. And men were raised by men, women were raised by women. And what happened is our grandparents grew up in suburbia for the first time, where everyone was put together, and that's where the divorce rate went to 50%. And what happened is that most men of this generation, what he's saying, we were raised by single mothers and single female school teachers. And we were taught until a woman was happy, we could not have happiness into our lives. So much so they made mantras. A happy wife is? And it was almost making second-class citizens. And what happened is this book came out called No More Mr. Nice Guy. It's not about being an asshole. It's about drawing boundaries and gaining your masculinity back. I'll give you an example. I'm going on a date tomorrow night with an amazing woman. I said, I'd love to take you out 6 p.m. on Friday. May I do so? She said, yes. I said, great. Now, the only next questions is, shall I send you a card, and will you please wear the black dress that makes you look so pretty? And the chance of her going like, what, right? Because there was clarity, with boundaries, set intention, and all of a sudden, we started asking that masculine self. And I realized that men don't hang out with other men unless you're a policeman, a fireman, or in the military. So I started doing these events every 2 or 3 months at my house called Men's Group, where people come together, or a fellowship where everyone can just be themselves. So I give you a lot of honor and commitment. My suggestion to you is to read No More Mr. Nice Guy and really make that your Bible. Because it is really, really powerful. And Way of the Superior Man. It's just phenomenal, just so you know. You guys ever feel that one way, by the way? It's like, what do you want for dinner? I don't know. What do you want for dinner? I don't know what you want for dinner. I want for dinner. Right? Compared to, hey, I made dinner reservations Tuesday at 7 over at Luigi's. Kind of cool, right? It's just that simple little stuff. And you might agree or disagree, but this is just the way that we're finding today's civilization is missing a little bit. Any other questions? Yeah.
So I'm a pure entrepreneur through and through, and I have
Like your haircut.
well, it's beautiful. I have a lot of opportunities in front of me. I'm creating a bunch of different things, but I'm surrounded by my entire family, and Pat knows my story. My entire family, wife, parents, in-laws, they have to have a career. I'm a 2-year-old son. I know the opportunities in front of me, but everyone around me that I can't separate myself from my family are not on board with giving me all. Like, I'm ready to live in a truck to go where I want to go. And I would do that. I wanted to have a conversation there evening at dinner when I was like, hey, listen, I'm gonna make it a clinical sales guy. For those of you know, I make good money. I hate it. I hate talking to doctors.
What's the question?
Question is, what advice would you give me surrounded myself with all these people that I cannot separate from?
Okay, I'm gonna give you two. One, I don't share my hopes, dreams, goals with my friends and my family because they can't understand it, and it's disrespectful to them. Because it almost, again, it's that crab theory where they want to pull you back. It's that opinion rather than counsel. Door number 2, I surround myself with people I have respect for, not people I have influence over. It's all my hopes and dreams because they can give me my feedback. And door number 3, one of the greatest interviews I ever did with a gentleman, he did something called a promissory note. And here was the deal he did with his family. He said, here's a promissory note, and here's my promise. Give me 1 year, 12 months from today, from this date to this date. If you promise to support me, I'm going to go all in this line of business. And on this date, if it doesn't happen, I promise I'll get a job and I'll never go back again. But all I'm asking for during this time, you have to support me. You cannot discourage me. And we'll have a buzzword. As soon as you say it, I say it as a trigger, it puts you back. And if you give me that, I'll give you that in exchange. He did it, changed his life for And by the way, has anyone here ever wanted success for other people, your friends and family, more than they want for themselves? Yeah. Have we ever tried to pull people up and they say, get it? Yeah. Just recently, I was watching an interview, and I put in my latest book called Personal Development. By the way, I had #1 bestseller yesterday. And basically, here's what he said. He goes, stop trying to pull people up the mountainside with you because you're killing them. Because most people can't breathe at 15,000 feet. He says, take them up the side of the mountain until you hit a plateau where they stop breathing and let them rest and acclimate while you continue your quest. And hopefully, at one time, they'll get to the point where they can join you on the quest. And that changed my viewpoint right then and there. And my mentor came to me and I said, why is it that I want success more for these people than they want for themselves? I don't get it. What should I do? And he looked me dead in the eye and said, roots. What the hell's roots? He goes, roots! What's roots? He says, you can find someone who's down and out. Doesn't make a difference where they are. They could be in the gutter. But the difference is they're in there and they're bleeding from the back of their hands. And I go, why are they bleeding? He said, roots! I don't get it. He says, those are the people that don't like being there. So they're flinging their hands out of the gutter trying to grab a handful of roots. He says, if you can find the select group that are willing to bleed and yell encouraging words and tell them where to grab the next set, eventually they'll pull themselves out of that situation and then also be armed with the information and experience to teach others to do the same. He said, stop trying to fix people. Just look for the people that are willing to. Another question? Yes.
So, as someone who is also aspiring to be an author, what advice would you give to someone who's starting a journey but not a ghostwriter? Because I know that's your advice.
Yeah. Well, only because that works for me. If you are a writer, that's awesome. Most people come to me and say, I've been thinking about writing a book for 10 years, I haven't done it. So then I say, well, don't get a ghostwriter and don't take the information out of your head. But you start with the chapter titles. That's it. Chapter title, so what it is, it's still, and remember, what's common sense to you is genius to somebody else. And it's hard for us to get out of our own way. I'll give you an example. Again, my son's 12 years old. He is a beast on this game called Fortnite. He's just a monster, right? And there's kids that pay him $20 to sit in a chair right next to him to watch him play this game because they teach him all the tricks and the little things. So what's common sense to him is genius to someone else. So the whole idea is you got to find out what your common sense, what your genius is, and those become your chapter titles. And then neighbor, social media.
Still got more time, you're good, you got time.
Okay, any other, yes?
So you mentioned you know, dyslexia. When you were younger in school.
Okay, why did they make the word dyslexia the hardest word to say? Yes.
What was your, how would you describe your self-confidence when you were younger compared to your peers, given that type of learning disability? How did it evolve? What type of events made it a big impact?
Yeah, I embraced it. So I'm not one of those guys that ran from it, and I tell everyone. So I think one of the things we live in fear, again, of judgment and things. But once it's out there, I don't have to live in that fear. Again, if I got a big old pimple on my nose and I go out on a date, first thing I'm going to do is say, knock on the door, get it out of the way. I don't worry about hiding it, right? So it's done. My mentor wrote a book called Illuminate. Back in Disney, they had these dancing bears, and the song says, you've got to accentuate the positive and eliminate the negative. He said, that's wrong. He said, accentuate the positive and illuminate the negative. As soon as you put a spotlight on it, you immediately get rid of it. Years ago, I had a book come out, and I had all these positive reviews, and one guy wrote a 1-star and said, it sucks. And I went, oh my God, everyone's going to see this thing. What do I do? And I called my mentor, Dave Gordon. I said, what do I do? He says, illuminate it. So I wrote an email out to 37,000 people on my email list and said, hey, everyone, my book is out. Everyone loves it. This guy says it sucks. And I put the link to Amazon. Guess what? It became a bestseller. Just by illuminating it. That's the craziest thing. The most people are afraid of being your true, authentic self. And that's what people are waiting to connect with the most. That's the funniest thing. What we're holding hostage and hiding is what people really want to see. It's the strangest thing in the world. Yes. Question.
You mentioned negative self-talk.
Yes.
High performers, I've said, like research, we actually think 90,000 times a day. 85% of those are negative.
Yep.
What are some things that you could recommend?
Okay, what do you do when the negative stuff comes in? So I came up with another acronym. It's called an APE. What's bigger than an ANT is an APE. Automatic Positive Experience. So for me, it's a song by Billy Joel. Okay? Slow down, you crazy child. That's in my head, right? So if I'm driving down the road and someone cuts me off, first thing I go, you mother, slow down, child. And it takes years, trust me, to do it, because there's a lot of road rage before you, I live in San Diego, right? So you go through these different things, but what I did is I realized I made a little picture in my head, and I go, this ape is standing over an anthill, and as they're popping up, he's just going like this and stomping those things. But guess what? If you let those ants overtake the ape, they'll take down the biggest piece. So the whole idea for myself is I got trained quicker and quicker to catch them as fast as I could to help me through it. That's my answer. Yes. Any other questions?
One or two more.
Really?
We're good.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't have a question, but I do have a comment.
Yes.
I started my business back in 2016, and it was that story, Free from Gold, that always kept me from it.
Oh, good.
It was like every single time, well, it's like that times. But it was funny, it was that story, because it was like, man, there's days where you just want to jump out of the window. And it was always like, free people. So I just want to say that is just one of the most remarkable stories that always stuck with me.
That's great. Yes.
Yeah, how did you get to meet all those people that you said 267 people wanted to go with you? How did you end up making your connections and such an amazing?
Well, again, back in the day, so Napoleon Hill was given a letter of introduction by Carnegie, and 100 years later, the Napoleon Hill Foundation wrote me an introduction letter.
Wow.
And so basically, I really wanted a ticket, and so what happened is I go meet one person, and they say, hey, no one else you got to meet, let's go see this person. One of my favorite ones was a guy named Truett Cathy. He started a company called Chick-fil-A Restaurants. I said, how is it, you're a billionaire? And I go, I'd like to be a billionaire. And he said, that's easy. He goes, stop planning. I go, what? He goes, last year you had a lot of plans. I go, yeah. He goes, how did that work out for you? And he goes, look for and capitalize on unexpected opportunity. I says, what? He goes, look, if you want a goal and you have stickability and eye on the prize, don't let other people get in your way. He says, let's say you're on a blue sofa and you want to get to the end of the street. He says, you get off your backside, start moving that direction. But a planner is going to plan every step. We're going to pause, take a break. If a sprinkler comes on, it goes against plan, they run back home, not me. He goes, I'm looking for opportunity. Did a kid leave a skateboard or a bicycle out to make my journey short? If I get lucky, I'll wave down a neighbor driving by and hitch a ride. He says, either way, I'll get to my goal. I'm just not so caught up in exactly how it has to happen. Yes.
I closed my gym down last year. I'm in a transition period right now. What are 3 things you would give someone like me who's trying to figure things out to get to that next step?
Okay. I'm going to give you, this is a double-edged sword, but I'm going to give you the fluffy answer. So in 3 feet from goal, we did something called the success equation. And it sounds like a math test, but it's not. And I'll do it really fast. It's the letter P plus T times A squared plus F is success. It works like this. Have you ever seen the show called American Idol? These kids show up 100,000 people to sing, and they're full of P, which stands for passion. You've heard the saying, won't you do it for free, right? But the majority of these kids suck. Is that correct? So if you're passionate about something and you suck at it, will you make it? No. But your P, passion, plus T, which stands for talent, now you got a shot. But with the first A, it starts winding up. What that means, action. You got to do something with that God-given gift. But the second A is super important, and that is association. If you are passionate about singing and you are talented, you are willing to take actions to pay your dues and associate with someone in the music industry who can open the doors and have the F faith that that's a journey you're destined for, you might have a great opportunity. The fact of the matter comes down to this: the people that find their own success equation are the ones that do it. So for 20 years, from 1920 till 40, I only had one business. I was a sales guy, advertising. And someone taught me exactly what I just said to you. And he said, what would you do if you could do it for free? I go, I'd be a teacher. I go, but there's no money in it, and I like Rolls Royces. And he says, well, what are your talented? I go, I'm full of shit. I'm a great talker. I'm a great communicator. He says, how can you take action with the right people? I go, I'd be one of those motivational speaker author guys. He goes, why don't you do that? And I said, what? I could do that? 3 days later, I put my business up for sale, and here we are. Ooh,
Wow. We give this guy another round.
Yeah.
Energy? Talk about stories, huh? Man, you got to listen to them 100 times just so you can grasp all of them. Guys, we're actually going to switch it up tonight. One, want to thank everybody that's coming out tonight, even if you were showing up late. Thank you for being here. This is actually the most packed out house that we've had yet this far, so thank you. Give everybody a round of applause. We're going to break out for 20, come back, do a thing, but we're going to switch it up. We're going to get 30 minutes of networking. There's a lot of people in here. We have all the way out to the back. But we're going to switch it up a little bit. We're going to get 30 minutes of networking and break time again for the new people in here. Bathrooms over to the side. In the back, we have water bottles, fruit, mixed nuts, and all that stuff. So please help yourself to all that. Make yourself at home. We got 30 minutes, and we're going to be coming back. We're actually going to be doing some giveaways since Greg came out tonight and everything. You know, he could probably be doing 100 million other things. He's got a big deal lined up and everything. And obviously, he flew out here on a Thursday night to come do this for us. So I want to say thank you for doing that.
Yeah, bud.
We want to do a giveaway for you guys, for everybody showing up tonight. Real quick, you're going to see tons of QR codes all around. And everybody, they're going to be on your table everywhere for the app one. Everybody go download the app right now. We're going to be doing 10 giveaways for 1 free year to our app. So everybody that downloads the app, we're going to send out an email to everybody, to the 10 winners, for having a packed house out tonight, and then for Greg showing up and everything. Thank you again. Please download that app right now. Get that in there. Your email will go to it, and then we're going to send out the big 10 people that we're going to get 1 free year of access to our ideal app. Mike, you got anything else?
Yeah. One thing that I heard a lot of tonight was, how do I take the next step, right? Well, one, you guys have already done it. You're in the room. One thing Greg says a lot is surround yourself with the people that are getting the results that you want today, right? So if you want to do that more, if you're trying to figure out, if you don't have the environment, one of the biggest things that fuck up what you're trying to do is your environment, right? Your parents, your household, your coworkers. The environment you're in will distract you from your goals, your dreams, your aspirations. It's important to get around people that want to see you succeed and not be egotistical about it, right? I want to see everybody in here win. I don't care what you guys are doing. I'm not trying to compete with nobody in this room. But But if I got a relationship, a partnership, a resource, something that I can give to you to help you get to that next level, that's what this room is about. So for those of you that are struggling to get to that next step, I encourage you to stay plugged in. If you're here in Arizona and you live here, stay plugged into the ideal community, because what we're building is a community that supports each other's growth. And I promise you, if you're in this room and you're not supporting somebody, you won't be in this room very long.
Amen.
So with that being said, 7:40.
And Michael, can we make sure that people also go see Billy that would like to come to Secret Knock and be part of that whole thing as well?
Yes, if you want to participate in Secret Knock in Las Vegas in September, see the referee in the back. And he will get you guys all set up. He'll answer all your guys' questions for Secret Knock. I'll give you guys a quick, I guess, testimonial. We got to participate as a talk show partnership with Secret Knock in March. We interviewed 32 people in 3 days for the talk show that'll be released here soon. The people that you guys want to be around are in that room, right? Yeah. The people that will support you. Same thing that I said, community here. And if you're not there to support, you won't be in the room. Same thing with Secret Knock. If you're not your authentic self and trying to really help other people thrive and win, it doesn't matter where you're at. You can be starting, or you can have already sold your company for $1 billion. It doesn't matter. We want to see each other be lifted up, and as a team and as a community. We're all here on Earth. We ain't going nowhere. We're going to either see each other as we rise or we're not. So with that being said, what time do we got to be back in our seats?